Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Tristan. Welcome to another FRSA video short. So Tristan, Chief Executive Officer of the Fire and Rescue Service Association, we've got a bit of time today, and I wanted to talk to you about the recently released cultural review of London Fire Brigade, and to find out, in your experience and professional opinion, find out some of your thoughts and reflections.
Good afternoon to you, Ben, and good to be online with you again. Shame that we're talking about this particular subject, but it certainly needs to be discussed. It needs to be tackled. We welcomed publication of the report. We certainly welcomed all the recommendations within the report. And having read the report, as I know you have in great detail, it's quite distressing and shocking that we are reading such a report in 2022. When there is so much more awareness with regards to inappropriate behaviour, discrimination, inappropriate conversations that are happening, a lack of resources that are available in a massive organisation like London Fire Brigade that you wouldn't believe. And I have to say, when reading the report, it comes across as being very well produced. It comes across as being a very robust investigation. It came as no surprise what I read in there, which again is disappointing. But I also believe that a lot of what is contained in the report are things that I recognise in other services to varying degrees.
Okay.
I don't think this is isolated to London. I think because of how big London is, because of the location of London, um, clearly this has been magnified, and the investigation and the report have been published, which is good. But don't let anybody rest on their laurels thinking this is an isolated incident, because it's not.
So one of the first things I was going to ask you is, do you accept the findings of the report? And I'm guessing from what you said that you believe this is a well-resourced and accurate reflection of life in London Fire Brigade.
Yeah, I think 100% the FRSA does welcome and accept the report. Um, there's lots of difficult conversations that people will need to have following this, and what we can't have is a report where everybody's wringing their hands. All the politicians, all the officers, past and present, are wringing their hands saying, "Isn't this bad?" and then not really doing anything about it. There are 23 recommendations in the report. My understanding is all of them have been accepted by the current fire commissioner. My hope is that they will all be acted upon. My hope is that there will be some time limited and milestones put in place to ensure that all of the recommendations are followed through in their entirety, and that there is clear evidence to demonstrate that improvements are made in LFB for the benefit of all the staff that are working there now and in the future, and also to the benefit of the public that they serve.
Yeah. So one of the things that I recognise is a sense of at a kind of ground level within the lower ranks of the service, probably a sense of territory, and it appears there are certain rules that you either follow or you don't, and those appear to me to be rules of belonging, rules of behaviour, rules of mindsets and views. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I think it's important to say that there are some fantastic firefighters out there undertaking some fantastic work and behaving in an exemplary fashion. My hope and my understanding is that these are pockets of poor behaviour and poor practice. And you're absolutely right. It's predominantly the boots on the ground in the watches, bore out by the watch culture, where you have an environment where you are very, and understandably so to a degree, you are very protective of each other. You are very protective of your working environment because of the nature of the job you're in. But that has a habit of expanding too far into welcoming other people into the watch, into the station. Um, the beliefs and the views of other people that might be contrary to what the previous views and beliefs of the watch has been in the past. Um, it's going to be a big job. This isn't going to happen overnight in a couple of years. This is a massive job. LFB is a massive organization. And there are lots of people, I would imagine, who have read this report, who are currently serving, who will dismiss the report. And that's a problem that the fire service family have got to tackle. And people have got to feel empowered to be able to call out poor behaviour. And clearly, reading this report, people have experienced and witnessed poor behaviour, and they've got absolutely no confidence in raising it with HR and with senior managers. That's a situation, that's a culture situation that's got to be eradicated, and that needs to be that huge tanker needs to be turned around as quickly as possible.
So I echo your views about what an incredible job those responding out in appliances are doing in London Fire Brigade, and also recognise that the stress and the pressures, and particularly of some significant incidents, has probably reinforced some of those behaviours. So when I made the point about saying that this is a kind of ground level problem or manifestation, I wasn't for a minute suggesting that the responsibility and also to some degree some kind of influence is coming from senior levels, and I'm certainly of the view that you are either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. There isn't any kind of
100%.
grey area or
Yeah.
area to hide in this. And I think reading the report, it was unclear to me who was part of the solution. Going right to the top, that's not to dismiss the comments made by Danny Cotton about her efforts to try and bring about improvement, and the incredible misogyny that she would have appeared to have faced.
Yeah.
Um, and I suppose my question is how can senior officers have been either so had their hands tied or had their eyes blinkered to not have been in amongst this, because these problems have been well known for a number of years. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. This problem has been known for a number of years. I'd say probably at least 10 years, if not longer. This is just a view. So my view is that because we're talking about London Fire Brigade, we're talking about whole time careers. Normally, you're looking at a career of 30 years. You do not want to blot your copybook in terms of promotion, in terms of career longevity, by stepping outside of the norm, by stepping outside and putting your head above the parapet. And I think that's why there will be so many good people in here who will be reading this, recognizing the service, and will be feeling that they've let their colleagues down by not acting. And to a degree they have, but also you can understand why so many people turn a blind eye. That's not condoning it, but you have to understand the situation and the culture within LFB before you're able to tackle the problem, in my view. There will be so many highly paid and experienced managers who should have done more and haven't. I think there needs to be a lot of outside influences in changing the culture in this brigade, because I'm a great believer in those that cause the problem are not the best people placed to provide the solution. There does need to be outside influences. It does need to be monitored regularly. People do need to know what good looks like. Actually, when I say what good looks like, what normal looks like, what should be commonplace in the workplace, what we would deem as good behaviour, appropriate behaviour, and the effects of poor behaviour on other people. I would imagine there's behaviour that's been undertaken that the intent hasn't been to the detriment of individuals. They haven't really understood the impact of their behaviours on other people. There's probably a lack of awareness, a lack of understanding, some naivety, some ignorance within certain behaviours in the organisation. But people need to be taken to task. And I know Fire Commissioner Andy Rowe has said that they're going to reopen some disciplinary cases, and any acts of inappropriate behaviour are going to be dealt with through dismissal. Not 100% sure how that's going to work, reopening cases that have allegedly been dealt with before, but all power to him to do that. But people need to understand that that sort of behaviour's got no place in the fire service, got no place in the workplace, and there are extreme consequences to individuals who undertake that behaviour, certainly repeatedly.
The statistic fact in the last 5 years, there's been 10 investigations and no dismissals for a service that's described as institutionally racist and misogynistic. It's just absolutely eye-watering, isn't it? And you have to question, really question what's going on in that organisation, don't you? I mean, those two points just don't align in any way, do they? And it's almost like the clock's gone back 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was notable on reading the document that human resources come in for something of a lot of criticism, and understandably so. I think I read out of the HR staff, only 35% had HR qualifications.
Yep.
It seemed like if your face fitted, you probably got a promotion. There will no doubt be a lot of people who are in positions that they're not cut out to fulfill.
So
I think that's part of the problem as well with regards to dealing with disciplinary investigations and cases.
you can certainly empathise with those people that want to challenge and want to raise attention to their experiences, having absolutely no confidence in doing so.
Yeah. I think going back to what I said earlier about individuals not having the confidence to raise a complaint when they see inappropriate or experience inappropriate behaviour, no doubt that was exactly the same further up the chain.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel confident that you can fulfil that job and see a case all the way through, then chances are you're not going to do so, and that's scandalous.
There's a theme that I've been thinking about recently, is to what extent, what ability do fire services have, and looking at the people that work there to take on new ideas and change. And certainly, I had a conversation with someone this morning, not an FRSA member, but who said that within his working environment, thinking differently, discussing different ideas and approaches was completely off the table. And I'm thinking from an industrial relations and rep body point of view, but I also wonder if that's a theme that's echoed across the service, and accounts for some of the barriers that we face. For example, if we want to, when there's conversations about looking at the role of a firefighter, discussing that, redefining it, it seems that for various reasons at high level there are some very big and very significant blockers to that. Do you think that this is the problem in the service?
I think it's widespread, and I think I was just writing a letter to the fire minister, and trying to put across how exasperated we are with regards to the fact that progress is unbelievably slow. If you look at the inspection reports from His Majesty's Inspectorate, they identify all the things that you and I have experienced and know about for a number of years. Now, those inspections are now 4 years old. Have we seen any real change? I'm not too sure we have. And my experience at national and at local level is that some stakeholders and individuals fight for the status quo. They want everything to remain exactly as it was yesterday. That's not, I mean, change can be good, change can be bad. But overall, you've got to evolve, because otherwise you're going to be left behind, and you are going to be undertaking working practices from the dark ages. And we've seen that in this LFB report. We have got to embrace change. We've got to shape the future. We've got to shape the change to make sure that it works for our members, that it works for the public, and that it works for the vast majority, if not all, fire and rescue service staff, operational and non-operational. And never be afraid of change. It's natural to be afraid of change. It's natural to want to be in the comfort zone. But very often, you'll know this from your experiences in Devon and Somerset and the changes that they've made down there. Once you arrive at the destination that you're looking to go to, it's a much better place. And you think, well, why didn't we do this ages ago? And that's what we all need to be doing. We need to be selling The product of change far better than we currently are, and the implications of not moving forward. We were discussed before we went live about the impending strike action that might be around the corner the early next year. The damage that is going to cause, forget about the politics of it and forget about the reasons for it. The damage that is going to cause the public perception, it will last for years. The damage that will cause within interpersonal relationships within the fire service will go on for years. We've seen it before. We've got to stop that happening some way.
And ultimately, and this has to be a takeaway point for the Fire Minister, is that there just appear to be more and more reasons why potential new joiners would just look at the fire service as a sector that they do not want to enter. That the payments, the rewards, terms and conditions are no longer competitive and attractive.
No.
And we now have more and more information about the cultural environments that you might find yourself in. And this is a real threat. And right now, it's hard to feel positive about the future, isn't it?
It is, but as a key stakeholder in the fire service, we've got to stay positive. You're absolutely right with regards to pay. Financially is not as attractive as it used to be. Fire service has rested on its laurels, particularly with the whole time service, whereby they've had thousands of applicants every time that they've undertaken a recruitment campaign. Statistically, you'll see that fewer and fewer people are not only applying, but the period of time that they're staying once they're in is a lot lower than what it used to be. We've spoke ad nauseum with regards to the problems we've got in terms of recruitment and retention for on-call. You're starting to see that in whole time now.
Yeah.
And before, that would have been unfathomable. We want a healthy, diverse, inclusive workforce. You're absolutely right in what you say, in that a lot of people who we want to join, who will make the service a better place, are looking at the service and saying, I don't think I want to be part of that. We need to change that.
On that note, I'd like to say thank you very much, Tristan, for your time today, and look forward to talking again sometime soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Ben.